Hey guys, how are you all tonight? Hope you're having a great evening, or day, or whatever it may be for you. It looks like my gain got fiddled with a little bit, so I just turned it down a wee bit. But I hope things are going well, and I hope you're ready for a nice, relaxing stream where we continue reading Dragonspell. I know I'm pretty excited for it, so... Hey guys, there we go. So, I was gonna say something, and now I can't remember. I'm gonna go ahead and mute the background music, or sounds, whatever it is. I went shopping today with my mom for groceries for Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. Hi Danny, how are you tonight? Oh, well, I'll deal with it when it comes up. But we went to Aldi because Aldi has some fantastic deals, money-wise. And they happen to have this big, huge bottle of the Naked Juice Blue Machine smoothie, which is one of my favorites. Hello LSB, how are you? I'm doing decent, Danny. I haven't felt very well today, but it hasn't been too terrible. I took a nap earlier, and that helped at least with my headache. So, I'm almost positive you guys can hear my mom's TV. Because I think I hear it through my headphones. I really like these comfy corner streams because they're an excuse to do some of my favorite sounds, and no one can give me a hard time about it because it's ASMR. I was also really happy. I haven't gotten to watch it in its entirety yet, but Griffin Ramsey, who I talk about on here quite a bit actually, but she has an ASMR channel along with a few other people that work with her, and she just released an unboxing Etch-a-Sketch video where she unboxes the Etch-a-Sketch and then she draws with it, and so far it's been really cool and relaxing. And can't wait to finish watching the rest of it. But yeah, this stuff, if you guys have not tried the Naked Juice or the Naked Smoothies, they're really quite good. They're also kind of expensive. So, like, I got this at Aldi, and it was $4 and some cents for this bottle. And that's at Aldi, which is the cheap version. So, a bottle this big is probably actually closer to $7 or even $10 at a normal store. And the small bottles are usually $3 or $4. So, I like my juice clothed though. So, that's fair, Danny. But no, it was actually, I was introduced to this kind of juice, in college. And it was a very funny joke. Because, well, funny joke. Because everyone was always like, oh yeah, let's go get naked at Jasmine's, which was the name of our coffee shop, the on-campus coffee shop. So I was like, yeah, let's go get naked at Jasmine's. And I don't know, it was amusing. Because they meant the juice, but so I'll be sipping on that tonight. The only problem with it is it does have 2 1/3 bananas, and I'm mildly allergic to bananas. Not enough to be any problem, but it may start making my throat itchy, at which point I will stop drinking this juice and switch to tea. So, sorry, had to cough. Alright, I have the book up here already. So, let's go ahead and continue with the book. We are over halfway through at this point. And when we last left Kale, she and Dar and the Kimmins, which are little tiny, if you remember, little tiny, a very tiny species that uses light to make their clothing. They bend the light around them to look like cloth. But they had just rescued Litu Benz, and due to the fact that the wizard Risto had returned to his fortress, and there was an attack, they had to sneak Litu out through a well that led to a waterfall, where they had to jump onto Kale's riding dragon friend's back. However, only the Kimmins and Litu were, they went on first, and then Celeste was going to come back for Kale and Dar. But the wizard Risto has found Kale and Dar and is going to, currently working on, he's going to shear away the side of the cliff that they are standing on, melt the rock under their feet, and destroy the ledge that they're standing on. So, we left off at a literal cliffhanger. So, I hope you guys are ready to continue the book. And find out what happens next. I will go ahead and, for anyone who is uncomfortable with the Christian religion, we are at the part where this book is written by a Christian author, and much like the Chronicles of Narnia series, it does have parallels. So, and the next few chapters here are there with the person that's basically representative of Jesus Christ, and so it may get a little heavy with the parallelism, the kind of this, yeah, just where you sit there and you're like, yeah, this is definitely written by someone, and they're trying to shove the Bible in here, even though this world doesn't even have the Bible. But that being said, just putting that out there, so that it's going to be a pretty strong point in the next few chapters. But yeah, just wanted to make you aware. Chapter 29, Paladin. Kale and Dar rolled away from the edge of the cliff. Oh, nope. Kale and Dar, there's a typo in here. Oh, you can't really see it. But between the O and the M in the word from, there's like this long dash. And I don't know why. Okay. Kale and Dar rolled away from the edge as the cliff began to quiver. They knelt as close to the stone wall as possible. Should we escape through the cavern? Back to the fortress?
The whole mountain might collapse on us.
He wouldn't destroy his own castle, would he? As if to answer her question, a deafening roar shook the rocks around them. Kale screeched. Dar grabbed her arm and pulled. They scrambled on all fours back toward the waterfall and the wider ledge. Shards of broken rock pelted them, stinging their skin. Coarse gravel-like pebbles bounced and skittered like hailstones on the flinty shelf around Kale and Dar. The mountain continued to crumble under their hands and knees. A strong shudder knocked them flat on their stomachs. As soon as it passed, they resumed crawling. Kale heard a loud crack and looked over her shoulder. A few feet behind her, a section of the ledge split, hung for a second, and then slid down and away. The exposed rock, several shades lighter than the weathered surface around it, looked like a huge scar on the face of the cliff. Dar entered the cavern and collapsed with his back against the wall. Kale followed and huddled beside him. The Daniel stretched an arm around her shoulders. She raised her head and looked at the dismal scene. The vapor off the waterfall clouded her vision. From the cavern ceiling, a fine spray of gravel fell like a gray curtain. The mountain groaned. Rock ground against rock as the earth travailed under Risto's destructive spell. Kale placed her hands over her ears to block out the grinding noise. The vibration in the rock made her want to scream and run. But where could they go? We can't just sit here.
I know. I'm thinking.
I'm scared.
So am I.
Back through the tunnel?
Too dangerous.
Sitting here is dangerous.
Merlander!
What?
She's coming.
How? Dar jumped to his feet.
Come on, Kale. She's almost here.
He ran outside the cavern. Kale followed as he darted away from the waterfall along the crumbling ledge. She kept her head down, watching her feet and trying to keep dust from the disintegrating cliff out of her eyes. A shadow passed, and then another. Kale looked up in time to see the tail of a white dragon disappear in the mist. As she watched, 2 small globes of light appeared above them, and then 2 more. The light became clearer as it descended, drifting closer to where she and Dar stood on the precarious stone shelf. The mountain shook. Debris rained down on them as the ground trembled. Dar and Kale collapsed in a heap to keep from being tossed over the edge by the violent surges of the rock beneath them. A crash in the distance meant another cliff section had broken away and fallen. When Kale opened her eyes again, 4 Kimmins stood around them. Shimmerin, Cecil, Xavian, and Glim. The little people helped Kale and Dar to their feet.
The dragons will return immediately.
It was Shimmerin's strong voice in her head.
We will jump to safety.
Kale's throat closed, and she struggled to breathe. Her muscles felt like boards that would not move, would not jump, but would burn with fear. As the others leapt into the passing dragons, A small hand brushed her cold palm, grabbed a few of her stiff fingers, and squeezed. Kale looked down to see Cecil's upturned face. The Kimmins smiled, her eyes bright with excitement.
Now!
Commanded Shimmerin. No! Screeched Kale, but a thump on her back, squarely between her shoulder blades, knocked her forward. She tumbled off the cliff. As she fell, cold air rushed around her, flapping at her clothing and sweeping through her hair. Cecil still held her fingers. The little Kimmin wrapped her body around Kale's arm. Cecil forced that arm out straight and seemed to pull Kale away from the sheer wall of rock. Another Kimmin clung to her back. He too seemed to be directing her fall. They hit the dragon with a great thwack. With her free hand, Kale grabbed the soft ropes crisscrossing around the creature's torso. In a moment of scrambling, her feet found toe holes in the netting. Her cheeks stung where the impact against the dragon had scraped off tender skin. Tension radiated pain through her body. Cecil and Shimmerin patted her. She heard their melodic voices telling her she was safe. Her fingers clutched the strong silken cords. She could not open her eyes. She could not speak. The air cleared, no longer wet, no longer laden with particles of dust and grit. The waterfall's roar faded gradually. The rhythmic beat of dragon wings soothed her fright away. She could feel the rippling of huge muscles beneath her as the great beast breathed the night air and moved almost silently through the sky. Dar?
I'm all right. I'm on Murderlander. You?
I'm not hurt. Hello, Boo. How are you today? How are you doing? Hope everything's going well. If anyone in my chat is not already following the awesome Boo Dude, you should totally give him a follow. He's really fun to watch. And also happens to be part of the Odd Team, which you should follow all of those lovely people as well. They're all super, super wonderful. Nice, that's always a pleasant surprise, Boo. I'm surprised that they had a class scheduled for Thanksgiving morning, but okay. Silence. Kale searched her mind for a glimpse of the baby dragon's presence. She dared not move a hand down to explore the pocket of her cape. Jim was there, groggy and curled up in a ball. She felt his mind stir, shudder in fear, and retreat into unconsciousness. Kale giggled. Dar?
Yes?
Jim's all right. She giggled again, and knew the sound had traveled to Dar's mind. He fainted. Then he came to, and remembered what happened, and fainted again. Kale heard the responsive chortle from Dar. The small sound blossomed into an explosion of mirth. She smiled and giggled again. Then she laughed and clung to the ropes. The laughter shook her with a rolling determination to empty her body of all tension. It wiped away the last vestiges of terror. With her eyes still clamped shut and her fingers wrapped around the ropes, she let her body react. Tears rolled down her cheeks. The Kimmin stroked her back and arms. It's not Thanksgiving in Canada that happened. Oh. I was not aware that you're in Canada. I don't pay attention to these things. What sort of cereal turns milk gray? I don't think I want to know. That sounds terrible. Does not sound like a fun cereal at all, LFB. When her emotions settled, and she lay exhausted against the ropes, a shiver coursed through her. The Kimmins moved quickly, tucking the moonbeam cape more securely around her wet body. She felt them scamper lightly over and around her. Being hundreds of feet in the air didn't seem to bother Shimmerin and Cecil at all. Kale opened her eyes and watched as they climbed back and forth across the netting, as if it were a tree rooted firmly in the ground. She examined the rigging clenched in her hand. She couldn't identify the fibers twisted in an incredibly fine pattern. Made by Kimmins. She'd seen examples of their delicate weaving in baskets sold at Riverways Market. With one finger, she touched the white dragon skin beneath the network of ropes. Pearlescent scales covered the hide. Her finger caressed one of the cool, smooth discs. Moonlight twinkled off each of the scales. Kale noticed the grime on her fingers. Mist from the waterfall and dust from the crumbling cliff had combined to make a muddy coating on her skin. She needed a bath. Not until I get off this dragon. Kale twisted her head cautiously to view the rider working with the dragon. A giant? No, an Urom. I believe the Lucky Charms marshmallows turn milk gray after a while. Oh, Sprinkled Donut Crunch, which is some derivative of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, because I guess Cinnamon Toast Crunch wasn't unhealthy enough. Oh dear God, that sounds horrid. I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm not too fond of French Toast Crunch, but I just don't like French toast in general. I've been told it's because I've never had it done properly. But I do like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. The taste you can see. But that, Sprinkled Donut Crunch just sounds horrid. I think Holzbrook might be home. Hey Holzbrook, what's up? What? What? He just sighed and went back upstairs.
Forgot the thing.
Oh, there was a thing that you forgot. Do I need to take it?
It's empty.
Oh, it's empty, okay.
It's a very heavy can.
It is, that's why I thought I had to.
I know, I kept my left lifted up. Why is it nothing? Sniff it. It smells.
I can't smell anything.
Me and Owen bought them. We were like, oh, no, should we try this? And we opened them. And he's like, sniff it. And I smelled it. I was like, that smells awful. And then took a drink and I was like, I don't know if it's good or bad.
All it is water, green tea, and ascorbic acid.
It tastes not good.
It tastes not good. Interesting.
It's really like,
Unsweetened. That might be it.
yeah. It's very strange.
Japanese green tea made from premium whole loose. Huh. Interesting.
We went to Whole Foods.
No, it's not. It's not my mom. It's my brother. It's Holzbrook. Hello, ASMR for life. This is called Sencha shot. Apparently, it's very not yummy, according to Brother Holzbrook.
Did you feel good?
But you feel good?
The antioxidants and good stuff.
Antioxidants and good stuff. Danny says hi.
Danny Pants.
What?
Danny Pants.
No, it's Danny Palaka. Because it's a joke about alpacas. Not Palace.
Do you want that can? You can keep it forever.
I don't really want to keep a can forever, thank you though.
Want to keep that bottle for you?
No, not really. I need to throw it away. Good night. Okay, so we got derailed a minute there by Holzbrook,
What are
who
the smells
may or
that
may
I
not be
smell
coming back.
upstairs?
What?
What are the smells that I smell upstairs?
Oh, probably the bread pudding that I made for Thanksgiving dinner for tomorrow
What'd you guys have for soup?
at Aunt Shannon's. Say what?
What'd you guys have for soup?
I had soup. I had chicken and dumpling soup. Supper. Mom and Dad had Chinese. There's veggies and I think there's still chicken left over and rice. Hi, welcome back, Pillow.
There's a little bit you can try.
There's a little bit.
I actually mixed in some function detox, urban detox stuff, so it did taste a little better than on its own.
Oh. No, that's not good. Oh, that is really not good. I don't like that
It's
flavor.
the culture that you like. So
That's great. That doesn't mean everything from that culture tastes great.
it's got 150 milligrams of catching tea and
Oh my god. I never thought green tea would taste nasty.
140% of your vitamin C that you need.
Wow.
Calories 0. Total fat is 0. Sodium 20 milligrams, which is 1% of your daily. Total carbohydrates 0. Sugars 0. Protein 0.
I can still taste it.
Good.
I can still taste
Put
it.
that in your bottle.
Blue Machine Naked Smoothie. The Machin. Alright, let's get back to the book, guys. Caramel popcorn crunch? Oh dear god, no. 104 Fahrenheit where I live. Where do you live? Are you in Australia? If you're in Australia, that sucks because the temperature there is horrid. It's so not fair. Like, I don't know how you people how Australians survive. I just don't. I'm constantly cold and I would burn to death there. Also, I can't believe how bad that green tea shot thing, whatever, tasted. Goodness. Okay. Yeah, I am. I don't think I've ever heard of a place quite that hot. That wasn't Australia. We're hitting about 40s, so just got back from doing sport in it too. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. Not been outside since last Friday. I went out shopping with my mom tonight, so I guess that counts as outside. Excuse me. Okay, I'm gonna continue reading, and then as I see things come up in chat, I'll take a break from reading to chat. Okay. Shimmerin took 2 steps along the dragon's ridged back to the huge saddle. With a leap, he landed on the Urom's shoulder and said something into his ear. The man turned at the waist, reached back, and gathered Kale into his gentle hand. As if she were a large rag doll, he tucked her under one side of his riding jacket. "Shimmerin says you're cold." His deep rumbling voice vibrated through his chest. "We'll be landing in just a few minutes. We'll set you before a fire and dry you out." Kale nestled within the warmth provided, and wondered if this was how Jem felt in his pocket den. The Urom smelled of soap, and the earthly scent of a man who had worked all day. So basically sweaty. Kale listened to the beat of his great heart, and felt safe. Pulling Jem from her pocket, she cuddled him under her chin, and enjoyed the flow of health and contentment between them. With each pulse, she gained physical comfort and a feeling of serenity. It's cold out here. I just wanted to borrow a box of cold because the I see storms. I'm not sure, Panda Attack. I'm not sure how new it is. I don't know if other people do ASMR streams. I just know that I enjoy watching ASMR, listening to ASMR, and I wanted to give back to the ASMR community, and I kind of wanted to bring it, try it over at Twitch a little bit, because I'm nervous about making YouTube videos myself, because I hate editing things and all of that, and also I don't know that I have time to make actual videos with other stuff that I do, but if I'm streaming, it's easy, I guess. Heat is about to up and break, so we can trade if you want. That sounds like a good idea there, Boo. You two trade heaters. Okay. Jim jerked to attention, squirmed out of her hands, and plunged back under the edge of her cape. His fear coursed through her veins before she identified the source. Fire dragons! Kale gulped. Fire dragons? Like the evil fire dragons in the Tale of Durmoil? Like the monster fire dragons who emerged from the volcanoes in ancient days? Fire dragons are real? Kale shook her head. Why not? Paladin is real. Gateways are real. I'm riding inside the jacket of an Urom on the back of a giant white dragon. She wasn't the village slave anymore, and she probably knew as much as the school mistress when it came to what parts of legends were real and what was made up. Master Miger had said Kale didn't know much, but she was learning every day. She would not sit in darkness and let others fight for her. She struggled to sit upright and moved closer to the opening of the jacket. Her hand clutched a large button that covered her palm as she inched the fleece of the coat out of her way. Ahead, she saw 4 dark shapes in the sky. Dragons flew toward them from the east, but they didn't look any different from the few dragons she had seen before.
9. No, a dozen.
She heard Shimmeren's voice from above her. He still sat on the Urom's shoulder. Kale craned her neck to see him. He sat, looking back toward the fortress they'd escaped. "We have help coming," said the master rider of the white dragon.
Just so long as it isn't too little too late,
said Shimmeren. Kale looked ahead and understood. She saw 4 dragons coming to help them. Shimmeren saw a dozen coming to defeat them. The ones before them were ordinary dragons. The ones behind them were fire dragons. Kale felt Jim's panic as he shivered, hidden in his pocket den. She placed a hand over the bulge in her cape where he lay. I'm not panicked, little Jim, but I'm so weary of all this trouble. One thing after another. Will we ever rest like normal folks in a bed, in a house, by a fireplace?
They're gaining on us,
reported Shimmeren. Our help is here, answered the Urom. The 4 dragons swooped past them, but a moment later they circled to join the white dragon, heading in the same direction. One flew in front, one flew on either side, and Shimmeren reported that the last had taken up position behind Merlander. An escort, said the Urom. Now I wonder what Paladin is up to.
Look,
Shimmeren pointed off to the south.
I think we're gonna find out.
Kale pushed herself up and leaned out of the jacket. In front of them, the horizon flushed pink with the approach of a new day. To the south, a gleaming dragon crested a steep hill and cast a shimmering light on the forest below. He soared heavenward and in moments flew over the small band of 6 dragons trying to reach safety. The regal dragons circled. The riders of the dragons below cheered, waving their swords in a salute to the one above. Then that radiant dragon turned to the west. Shimmerin now stood on the master rider's shoulder and jumped up and down. Kale climbed out of the Urum's coat and stood on the man's thigh. She leaned against his chest and peered over the other shoulder, hanging onto his collar. Merlander flew behind them, and Kale could see Dar, Glim, Xavian, and another man who looked like a Marion. The Marion sat backward in the dragon's saddle, with one hand waving his hat in the air, and the other waving his sword. Kale glanced at the other dragons in turn. Each held riders caught up in the excitement. She squinted at the majestic dragon as it sped toward the fire dragons. The rider wore a golden cape, a shining crown, and held a long sword that sparked with blue lightning. Beyond, 12 dragons, red in the dawn light with a dark and smoldering sky behind them, advanced with incredible speed. With each breath, flames of fire erupted from their nostrils. The fire dragons approached. One man went to meet them. Paladin. My heating system makes the air super dry. I need to get a humidifier or something. Humidifiers are nice. We had to get one. We had to have a couple when I was a kid because of nosebleeds and such. Because the air got so dry during the winter. Again, for anyone that's new to these books, they are written by a Christian author. Paladin, the character that was just mentioned in this chapter, is a parallel to the Christian Jesus. So you're going to notice things that Christians are big on saying in these next couple of chapters, just as in parallels to the Bible. Just to let you guys know, it's a fantastic book, regardless of what your belief system is, at least in my opinion. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that it was everyone is aware of that as we go into the next chapters. I had eczema when I was super young, so my skin basically scaled over when the air got yeah, I also have eczema in my hands and inner elbows. It gets pretty bad, but fortunately hasn't gotten too terrible this year yet. I've had some problems, but okay. Chapter 30. The Battle. Kale forgot the chilly morning air. She ignored the blazing sunrise behind her. The wild cheering of her comrades subsided to a vigilant hush. The formation of 6 dragons circled to the south in a wide arc, so everyone could watch the encounter as Paladin rode fearlessly to meet the opposing forces. Kale expected a clash of weapons, lightning from that gleaming sword, thunder from the heavens, spectacular displays of force. In the tales told by traveling minstrels in the Riverway Tavern, historic wars included an abundance of clamor and bloodshed. She didn't know much about war. She did know it scared her enough to make her palms sweat as she watched the two sides face off for the fight. Kale didn't like what she'd seen of fighting. Her first battle with the Grawlegs had frightened her. The horrible screeching, cursing, and howling rang in her ears. Even the hiss of Litu's arrows as they sailed toward their targets sounded sinister. When fighting the silent mortal cleaps, the thud of fists against flesh sickened her. The slash and sizzle when sword drew mortal cleap blood turned her stomach. The battle at the fortress included the clanging sounds of swords, spear, shield, armor, and bludgeons. How much more terrible would the clamor be when Paladin released his awesome power against the swarm of evil dragons? The fire dragons roared, flames shooting 20 feet out of their mouths and nostrils. Paladin took his position, facing the onslaught. He slowed, checking his racing dragon to a somber pace. Kale remembered the horses she'd seen through Litu's memory. Uroms rode these majestic creatures in the tail of the Battle of Ordre. The valley of Columna had been lined with men on horseback. Their faces reflected determination. Their bodies stiffened as they carried their lances point down. Men and horses faced the inevitable with unwavering courage. Now, she saw Paladin and his mount take on a similar attitude. They proceeded with no hurry, apparently not disconcerted by the odds against them. Confidence cloaked the rider like shining armor. Paladin's straight back and steady gaze made Kale blink back tears of pride. What a blessing that she'd been led to enter the service by this great warrior. Against the backdrop of brightening orange sky, his dragon fairly pranced in eagerness to charge. Kale braced herself as the distance between the line of fire dragons and Paladin narrowed. Flames shot from the evil dragon's mouths and nostrils. They snorted and tossed their heads. Tendrils of fire licked out of their noses. With each blow, the beast shot forth longer, blazing plumes of red and orange. Periodically, one would roar and let out a stream of fire, casting a glow as bright as the sun peeking over the eastern horizon. Each blast grew more intense. The smell of sulfur permeated the air. Paladin stood in his stirrups and raised his sword. In anger, the 12 beasts arched their necks, bellowing to the sky above. As one, their heads dropped down. Hideous mouths gaped open. A wall of fire issued forth, aimed at the rider and dragon before them. The inferno rolled across the open space, enveloped Paladin, and moved on. Kale gasped and held her breath until the ball of fire had barreled clear across the valley and slammed into the ridge of mountains on the other side. She stared in amazement. Paladin and his dragon hung in midair, not singed, not harmed in any manner. Suspended in flight, he held the same posture as before the attack. Out of his mouth came a command flowing like molten steel from the blacksmith's chalice. "Enough! Begone!" Kale heard an echo and immediately knew the words had come through her mind as well as through her ears. The fire dragons recoiled. Paladin urged his own forward. He rode into the midst of the 12 dragons. They parted. 6 turned to the south and circled back to the west. 6 turned to the north and circled away. In the landscape near Risto's fortress, dark creatures lurked in the shadows of boulder and tree. They slithered and crawled and crept away, melting into the earth and disappearing from the light of day. A groan erupted from the mountain. A magnified wail of frustration echoed as it hammered the cliffs and rumbled along the valley floor. Silence followed. Quiet replaced chaos. No sound reached Kale's ears save the whoosh of dragon wings steadily beating the new dawn air. A fresh breeze fluttered the leaves and trees below. The first notes of a morning oriole lifted from the meadow. A horse whinnied in a pasture. More birds broke forth in song to be joined by the plaintive bleats from lambs as they sought breakfast at their mother's side. Paladin turned his beast toward the forest and gestured for the other riders to join him. Kale heard the hum of Kimmon's song, praises to Wolder, thanksgiving for victory. The music flowed through her and brought back memories of dancing in the Sagnot forest, celebrating the presence of Wolder. The tunes rose into full voice. She wept. She sank down in the Urom's lap and cried. His huge hand covered her, but she did not care if anyone saw her. She had never been so tired before. She didn't take Jim into her hand to ease away the weariness. Instead, she slipped into slumber, preferring the quiet solitude of dreams to struggling with her confused emotions. Chapter 31. The aftermath. Kale awoke to the pleasant smell of wood smoke and the crackling fire in the hearth. A dim yellow light from a lantern suffused the interior of a pine cabin. A wool blanket cocooned her in warmth. She blinked, for the cabin was like many in the village a river away. The square, squat furniture was built for the bodies of Mariones. The dark colors in the curtains and rug reflected Marione tradition. Had she dreamed? How much had been a dream? Was she still a slave in a tiny village in eastern Amara? She forced her aching head off the hard pillow and struggled to sit. This was not a home she had been in before. She did not recognize the layout of the room, nor any particular piece of furnishing, yet she lay on a slave's pallet alongside a kitchen wall. The front door opened, revealing a brief glimpse of a fenced paddock, a barn, trees, stars, and moon. A man came in, but not a Marione. An Orant! The dim light in the room did not fall on his face, but allowed her glimpses of his clothing. Dressed in the elegant apparel of the aristocracy, he rustled as he moved. Light from the fire danced on the shiny material of his jacket and glinted on his finely polished boots. He went directly to the hearth, removed the lid from a pot, and stirred the contents. Kale's mouth watered as she smelled pinard potatoes, laced with savory herbs and butter. The stranger ladled some stew into a bowl, replaced the cover on the pot, and grabbed the spoon. He walked across the room and handed the meal to Kale. "Thank you," she said, taking the warm bowl. "Don't burn yourself." Kale gasped and looked up into Paladin's kind eyes. A young man in the prime of his life, he smiled and lowered himself to sit cross-legged beside her on the floor. His dark hair flowed around his face in soft waves. Blue eyes crinkled at the corners, as if he laughed often. His straight nose pointed over a firm, strong mouth. His jaw and chin looked stubborn, but his high forehead made him appear considerate and wise. Kale thought him very handsome, and a bit overwhelming. "Go ahead, eat," he urged her. "You've slept a day and a night. You should be starved." The fragrance rising with the steam tickled her nose, but a lump pressed in her chest. "Litu?" she asked. "Living, but still unconscious." "Dar?" "A rascal still." "The Kimmins?"
"All accounted for."
"Celise?"
"Completely recovered, and also forgiven by Dar. She and Merlander are settled in a copse down the road."
Kale lifted her hand to her chest, where her little dragon friend often slept.
Paladin smiled. "Jim is fine as well, and has been riding in my pocket." He rested a hand on the full skirt of his court coat. "Sleeping."
Kale took a bite and savored the rich, creamy taste. She took another spoonful and surreptitiously studied the man seated before her.
He smiled. "You can ask any questions you want."
"There are a lot of things I don't understand."
"There's nothing wrong with that."
"Do you really want me in your service?"
"Most definitely."
She liked the enthusiasm in his voice, but she didn't understand why he'd consider her worthy. "What can I do?"
"Whatever falls before you. No more, no less."
She sighed. The answers to her questions only made more questions in her mind. Why do I have these special talents?
"Which special talents, Kale Alaroin?"
"Finding dragon eggs."
"Walder knew you would be the right one for the quest, so he equipped you for the task."
"The light thing." Paladin looked at his hand and seemed to examine his fingernails.
"The light thing?"
Kale hesitated, stirring the stewed potatoes, taking a bite, swallowing slowly, and stirring some more. Paladin said nothing, but waited. His attention came back to the Orant girl. His steady gaze warmed her. Finally, peace blanketed her heart, and she felt comfort in confiding in him. In the castle garden, when the Bison-backed soldiers came, I concentrated on making the image of light, and real light appeared.
Ah, yes, I remember. I was pleased to see you nab that power so easily, but I do think Fenworth will have the time training your instincts and channeling your energy.
We'll find Wizard Fenworth?
Oh, yes. I've spoken to him.
Kale found this interesting. She paused to think about how easily Paladin solved the problem. Fenworth had not wanted to be found, so he wasn't. Paladin spoke to the reclusive old wizard, and now Fenworth would allow them to find him. Paladin's word was powerful. That raised more questions in her head. You spoke to the fire dragons, and they went away. You didn't threaten them or slay them. You just spoke. Why?
Why?
Why did they obey?
Because my power is stronger than theirs. To their chagrin, they know they cannot defeat me in battle.
She pictured the murderous dragons flying fearlessly across the sky. Then, why did they challenge you? Paladin smiled ruefully and shook his head.
They were angry, and not at all rational in their anger.
Why didn't you destroy them? Why did you let them go? You know they'll return.
They serve a purpose in Walder's plan. I would not go against what Walder has ordained.
But if you destroyed them, then it wouldn't matter. Things like finding Wizard Fenworth, finding the meat egg, taking it away from Risto, things like that wouldn't be important anymore. And if you destroyed all the evil sooner, Litu wouldn't have been hurt. Those people at the castle wouldn't have been killed. The others wouldn't have suffered. You could do that, couldn't you? You have the power to destroy evil. You could. Kale realized as she took a breath that she had spoken in a way she shouldn't have. Paladin ought to be angry at her impertinence. He nodded slowly, watching her with patient eyes, listening to her rant, not showing any anger towards her presuming to tell him what to do. She swallowed hard as she saw mist fill the room and their surroundings seemed to fade away. She sat opposite the great Paladin, with a half-eaten bowl of panard potatoes in her lap, a dirty spoon in her hand, and nothing around them but swirling gray mists. "Where are we?" she asked. "Together," he answered. His hand swept through the air as if waving off an unimportant issue. "Kale, Walder has ordered our world." "I know that," she answered quietly, ashamed of her string of heated words. Yet part of her still rebelled against the injustice. She strained to understand, chafing because Paladin did not use his power to right the wrongs that evil men like Risto committed. Excuse me. A light giggle floated through the cloudy air. Kale turned her head to see a small Doniel toddle toward them. The baby laughed out loud and clapped her tiny furry hands when she saw Paladin. Without hesitation, she clambered into his lap and cuddled in his arms, playing with a shiny gold button on his jacket. Paladin hugged her and kissed the top of her head between two small button ears. "By Walder's design, this little girl will become a renowned seamstress whose fashions are sought after in Vendela, as well as other prominent cities." Kale watched the child stick 2 fingers in her mouth and rest her head against the soft fabric of Paladin's coat. "Should I give her a needle and thread now?" asked the strong young ruler. "No," answered Kale. "Why not?" "She'd stick herself." "Yes, you're right. To give her the sharp needle now would be the correct... To give her the sharp needle now would not be of the correct order of things." Kale's brow knitted in puzzlement. Then her eyes popped wide as the sleeping Donial child vanished from Paladin's lap. Between the edge of Kale's pallet and the man's crossed ankles, a plant sprouted out of the wooden floor. "An apple tree, Kale," said Paladin. "Pick an apple for me." She looked at the seedling and up at the man teaching her. She shook her head. "It won't bear fruit for years." He nodded. "After it has struggled to put down roots, borne the stretching of growth, and enjoyed sun and rain." She glanced up to see the shadowy presence of an apple orchard surrounding them in the fog. Red apples burdened each branch of each tree. Paladin surveyed the fruit with a pleased smile. "These trees are mature and bearing a healthy crop." He pointed to the infant plant between them. "Because the others are ready, should we place an apple on this one?" A large apple appeared, attached to the tip of the seedling's only limb, crushing the small plant. Paladin shook his head slowly, a sad expression altering his kind face. The orchard faded into nothing. The mist covered the broken sapling, and when it swirled away, the plant was gone. Paladin reached out and took Kale's small, calloused hand in his. "Kale, Wolder knows when to do what must be done. I didn't destroy Risto's army of evil because it was not the right time. In this world, people are growing, learning about Wolder, learning about themselves, making choices. Confronting Risto and those like him is part of Wolder's plan to help these ordinary people develop into something wonderful. I would not cheat these good people of the opportunity to be great in the eyes of Wolder." "It would be easier without the struggles," said Kale, not daring to look directly into Paladin's eyes. She stared instead at his gentle hand holding hers. His perfect skin, smooth and unblemished, looked odd next to her dirty, work-worn hand. He chortled, a warm chuckle, soft and friendly, coming from deep within. "Kale, I love you. You are a child of my heart. You have been called to my service. Others have told you to answer the call, and you did. But Kale, now I want you to make a choice." He withdrew his hand. "Do you want to follow me? You can say yes, and continue the quest with Dar and the others. You can say no, and be free to go anywhere you want." "Back's a river away?" "If that is what you want. But you don't have to go there. You could go to Vendella if you want, and look for Farmer Briggs' friend May at the Goose and the Gander. She would give you a job with wages. She is a nice woman." Kale weighed the possibilities for a second. Only one choice truly appealed to her. She'd seen Paladin turn back evil. She'd seen him hold a baby tenderly in his lap. She'd felt his touch. She'd seen his smile. "I want to follow you." They'd been sitting, but now they stood. Kale couldn't recall standing up. Paladin swept her into his arms and whirled her around. They'd been in a Marion house, and now they were on top of a cloud. Or at least, Kale thought the billowy puffs of white beneath them looked like clouds. Paladin twirled so fast, Kale's legs flew out behind her. Cold, crisp air tingled her skin. She giggled in response to Paladin's deep laughter. When the spinning slowed, the wooden floor appeared again beneath her feet, and Kale found herself sitting on the pallet across from Paladin. Her fingers were cold, her breath came fast, and she could see in Paladin's expressive face the same exhilaration she felt. Suddenly shy, she ducked her head. "It's like being in a family, an important family. He said he loves me, if only I had something to give him." He took her hand again. His question surprised her. "Would you like to give me something?" Cautiously, she looked up, wondering if he was mocking her. What did she have to give someone like him? His face reassured her. She nodded. He released her hand and sat back. A fiddle appeared in Kale's lap.
Ah, beautiful instrument, said Paladin. Will you give it to me?
Kale felt tears behind her eyes. Would she ever understand what he tried to tell her? She jerked her head up and down and handed over the fiddle. A ring appeared on her finger. Paladin asked for it, and she gave it. A hat on her head, a bag of coins, a flower, a bottle of perfume, each appeared, and she willingly gave each to the mysterious man who sat before her. The last item, a picture in a frame, she held limply in one hand.
What is it, Kale? Why are you distressed? He asked. Don't you enjoy giving me gifts?
She shrugged, fighting the sadness in her heart. They don't mean anything to me, she answered. They aren't mine.
What would make this painting yours?
If I painted it, or if I earned the money to buy it.
But isn't it easier for me to just give it to you without the struggles?
Kale watched the painting in its frame dissolve into nothing, leaving her hand empty. As the gift disappeared, a feeling of hope filled her soul. She lifted expectant eyes to Paladin. He was going to answer her question. What is it that I can give you?
You've already given me all that I want, Kale. You've pledged to be in my service. You've given yourself. As you continue this quest, give me every thought, every action, every deed. It's so simple, Kale. It's why you are and who you are, what you do, and what you think and feel. That is your gift to me.
Kale's heart cringed within her breast. The disappointment tore her with a pain immense and cruel. It's too hard to understand. I can't do it. Paladin took the bowl and spoon from Kale's lap and set them on the floor. He stood before her, reached down to grasp her hands, and pulled her to her feet.
Dearest Kale, neither Wolder nor I ask you to understand, only to do. Don't waste effort on trying to understand the impossible. Know that the impossible is not impossible for Wolder. The unfathomable is understood by him. Allow him to take care of that which is beyond your capability, and you. He stroked a stray lock of hair off her cheek and tucked it behind her ear. You concentrate on doing that which is before you.
He grinned. Kale looked upon Paladin's face and caught his enthusiasm, his anticipation of life. She breathed in deep, as if to absorb his aura of confidence through the air around him. Her face broke into a smile to answer his. His next words sounded like a cheer in her ears. Enjoy your accomplishments, and leave the incredible, the insurmountable, the daunting tasks to Wolder. I will, she answered. The mysterious mist stirred with a sudden quick breeze, and swiftly escaped the confines of the pinewood cabin. Sunshine flowed in the window. Morning birds chorused outside. Paladin patted her shoulder.
First, may I make a suggestion?
Of course. She couldn't help but beam in him. Her heart felt full of love and hope. He leaned closer and whispered confidently,
First, let's see if we can arrange a bath. You, my dear, are one unholy mess.
Uh-oh, looks like I've dropped some frames, but it doesn't look like they're still dropping. And I haven't seen anything in chat yet about the stream being down, so hopefully it's alright. Chapter 32. Marching Orders. Kale sat on a bench at the plank table under a great oak. A dozen Marion children scurried back and forth. I lost my place. Right at the beginning of the chapter, I lost my place. Okay. A dozen Marion children scurried back and forth from the house, putting out plates, cups, and platters of food. Even after a week, it felt odd to sit and be served, but every time she offered to help, she was told she was a guest. A guest? A guest in the home of Marions. And not just... excuse me. And not just any Marion, but General Lee Ark. Kale looked over to where the famous Marion played ribbit. I can't words. Kale looked over to where the famous Marion played ribbits with a bunch of wild children. His team of half-pints scored again against the older, less organized children. The spectators sitting on the perimeter of the field cheered. Lee Ark had come to her rescue, along with the Urom, when she was trapped by the Grawligs. He'd also ridden Merlander the night she and Dar jumped from the waterfall ledge. His wife treated Kale as a respected visitor. Mistress Ark had given Kale the most treasured spot in their home, the kitchen, to sleep in, the only room that wasn't filled to the brim with sleeping Marions. In Lee Ark's cabin, a dozen bedrooms overflowed with 11 children, various aunts and uncles and cousins, and 4 grandparents. Kale had not been able to sort through all the people. Leetu lay on a narrow cot in a bedroom full of old women. There, one of the Marion elders kept vigil in a rocker next to the dangerously ill Emerlindian. At no time was she left alone. Kale wanted Paladin to heal her friend. Could he? She didn't like the waiting and uncertainty that everyone else seemed to take in stride. The meadow teemed with activity. All the neighbors had gathered at Lee Ark's home to spend time celebrating the upset of Risto's forces, the presence of Paladin, and each other's company. Members of each of the high races enjoyed the festival atmosphere. Music filled the camp. Children scampered about. Women sat beneath the trees and did needlework as they visited, and the men played games with each other and with the small ones. Everyone here seemed friendly and joyful, even though they lived in the shadow of Risto's fortress. This was one more thing to ask Paladin about, if she ever got the chance. Since the morning he had given his special attention to her, she had not been able to catch him alone. He was available, but only in a crowd. Every afternoon he sat with the children and told stories. In the eventide he told more tales, but to a gathering of adults, who sat on the grass around a campfire, and whose children nodded in their laps. As the dark grew thick beyond the light of the fire, sometimes he would explain the deeper meaning to the tale he had just told. Kale loved it all. She thirsted for more of his words, more of his wisdom. How could she ever go on to face this quest if she didn't know everything he had to teach her first? Paladin came out of the woods on a path edged with late autumn flowers of deep orange, purple, and golden yellow. Dar came with him, tripping along, merrily engaged in conversation. Brunstetter, the Urom master rider of the dragon who had flown to their rescue, marched behind Paladin. During their adventures, Kale had forgotten how short the Daniel people were. Next to the 6-foot Paladin and the 14-foot Brunstetter, Dar's 3-foot frame looked miniature indeed. He was tall, only next to a Kimmin. Paladin smiled at those who greeted him, waved off those who would have joined his small group, and headed straight for Kale. She rose to her feet, her heart speeding up with the joy of seeing him.
Kale Elleroyne, he greeted her. Tomorrow I return to the southern border. Lee Ark stays for a season with his family, and you and your comrades resume your quest."
Paladin nodded to Dara and Brunstetter, who immediately left his side. He sat on the bench by the table, facing the activities in the surrounding fields. "Be seated," he commanded. His friendly voice held a note of authority. Kale promptly sat and wondered what orders she would receive.
"Brunstetter is the leader of your expedition. Shimmerin is next in command. The Kimmins will carry Litu."
"I can help," offered Kale. Paladin gave her the slow, thoughtful smile that warmed her heart and made her feel accepted.
"No need, Kale. The Kimmins are very much like ants, in that they can carry burdens far heavier than one would expect. And they will be performing special acts towards healing our Emerlindian friend."
"Why is she so ill, Paladin? There were few wounds on her body, and those have healed." Paladin's face grew somber.
"The mortal cleaps in
Oh, dropping frames. Wow, dropping lots of frames. Compy, please. Okay, well, at least it's still recording. I don't think drop frames affect the recording. So what I'll do is I'll finish this chapter, and considering how my computer is acting, that might be it for the night. I don't know if anyone's even able to watch the stream. Currently, because it's dropping pretty bad. Or it's going through phases where it's dropping pretty bad. But at the very least it'll be up on YouTube, so... Okay. Paladin's face grew somber.
The mortal cleaps engulfed her. Mortal cleaps are the embodiment of nothing. Within their grasp, she was surrounded by nothing. No sounds, no sights, no smells, no taste, not the touch of something against her skin, not even the feel of her skin. Why, even her sense of up or down was hidden from her. Why even her sense of up and down was hidden from her. Inside a mortal cleep, there is no sign of life. In that oblivion, her mind writhed in anguish and shut down against the pain of loneliness and isolation.
Kale pulled her arms and legs in tightly, so that she perched on the bench like a large egg. Paladin took her hand.
"You touched that emptiness when you sought Litu with your mind. You know how devastating even a glimpse of that void is."
She nodded, unable to respond as she remembered the awful, sick feeling that had overwhelmed her. Paladin's warm hand on hers comforted her. His rich voice soothed even as his words disturbed her.
"Wolder has a place like that. It is used for punishment of those who defy him with every breath, until the very last time they exhale. Until the very last time they exhale on our world. But that punishment is not meant for Litu. She will recover. Pretender's imitation of Wolder's void does not have permanent effects when the proper antidote is administered, and you will play a part in that."
At the promise of something to do for Litu, Kale sat up, leaned forward, and listened even more intently to Paladin.
"The Kimmins will sing to Litu as they carry her. They will touch her, stroke her arms and legs, rub her head, run their delicate little fingers over her face. Dar will bring things for Litu to smell, the best of Wolder's scented flowers, and, he assures me, some very fragrant foods he plans to fix at mealtimes. Then, Wizard Fenworth will complete the cure."
"Well, what should I do?"
"As you travel, you will project the images you see into Litu's troubled mind. Beautiful flowers, peaceful meadows, striking sunsets. Oh god, my eyes are... The funny antics of the Kimmins, the grace of a butterfly. I can do that. In the evening, you and Jim will sit with her and make the healing circle. You will allow your love of adventure and your thrill at being part of the quest flow into our Emerlindian friend. Oh no, Paladin, I can't. I don't love adventure. I'm scared to death of the quest, not thrilled. Paladin threw back his head and laughed. Kale pinched her lips together and scowled at him. When the great man could speak again, after wiping tears of mirth from his cheeks, he winked at her. Kale, you're learning more about Walder every day. You're learning about your talents and how to use them, and on this quest, you will learn some deep truths about yourself. You're saying I love adventure and find the quest thrilling. Paladin grinned, and Kale had the awful urge to stick her tongue out at him, just as if she were no more than 3 years old. He laughed again and got up, reaching into his pocket. Here's Jim. He's missed you just as much as you've missed him. But I have been teaching him all sorts of little tricks. You will have fun together. Kale eagerly took the tiny dragon. Paladin walked off to join the game of ribbits. He dropped his coat on the ground, ran into the crowd, and grabbed the ball as it flew through the air. The children on both teams cheered and swarmed around him. I don't love adventure, she told Jim. She cuddled him under her chin, and he began to thrum. I'd rather stay here with Leark's family. My eye is really bothering me. She looked to the outside grill, where Mistress Ark turned slabs of meat over the fire. The general's wife put lots of energy into caring for her large family. Kale was positive the Marion woman derived a great deal of pleasure from her labors. If Kale stayed here, she could help. After all, she knew a lot about household chores. But the thought of staying didn't please her. She squirmed on the bench and turned her eyes in a different direction, seeking her friends. Although Kale didn't have a family, she did have comrades. Dar, Litu, the Kimmins, and Jem. Now Brunstetter would be joining them, and the quiet giant intrigued her. Kale watched the game of ribbits. The teams ran helter-skelter back and forth, across the same ground over and over, chasing a ball the size of a chicken. I do not get a thrill when I think about the quest, she muttered. Jem hummed. It was one of Dar's marching songs. She held him away from her and gave him a suspicious look. Her eyes narrowed and one eyebrow crooked. What has Paladin been teaching you? The little dragon sighed, licked his lips, and blinked. A quiet thought flickered from the creature's mind to hers. She yelped. Hatch another egg? Not now. When we get to the hall, there will be plenty of time to hatch another egg. Excuse me. Kale's thought grew more urgent. One word drummed in Kale's mind. Now, now, now. Not now, said Kale. Okay, and because we keep dropping frames pretty badly, I am gonna end the stream here. I will be uploading the video onto YouTube, so if you guys missed parts of it because of dropped frames or what have you, you'll be able to catch it there. This also works because I've got to get up early tomorrow anyway for Thanksgiving. We're traveling out to my mom's family, and we're leaving pretty early in the morning because my dad wants to be able to catch the game. So, for those of you in America who celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you have a happy one. I'm sorry, LFB.
my computer is just really starting to be unhappy with me, and I'm dropping a large amount of frames. But I do hope to stream again tomorrow night. Depending on what time I get home from spending time with family. If you guys would like to follow me on the social media sites such as Twitter, I'll be keeping posted on the status of the stream, whether or not it'll be happening, that sort of thing, what times and there. You can also have the link to my YouTube through this, where I will be posting up this the video for this stream. And then Instagram and Tumblr, which I'm not as frequent on, but they're still relatively updated. Once again, for those of you that are and if you are watching this on YouTube, the links for the Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and then my Twitch account, which is where I initially record all these, those can all be found down in the description. If you guys would like to chat with me off stream, I do have a Discord server, so you can click that link, make up a Discord account if you don't already have one, and join our chitty chat server. It's pretty awesome. And then you should also give a follow to all the odd streamers on Twitch. My good friends Storms, Rainy, Todd, and Boo. They're all super fantastic streamers, and I definitely recommend watching their stuff. Once again, I'm hoping to be able to stream tomorrow night. Not completely positive. Keep an eye on my Twitter to keep up to date on that. Thank you all so much for coming out and spending, even though it was just a little bit of time, I thank you for spending what time we did have. Thank you. You could have chosen to be anywhere today. You chose to hang out with me, and that really means a lot. I hope you all have a fantastic night, day, or whatever it may be for you, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Good night.